is up, everybody? Okay, I am so excited to have you here joining me on this free training I wanted to put out to you guys. I've seen some incredible growth over on my Instagram page recently, and it doesn't come as a surprise at all for me because I've been very, very, very intentional about continuing to refine my content strategy across this year to really identify what works, what doesn't work, and how to increase my reach, but also how to start converting my content into cash. Okay, so what I wanted to shine some light on for you guys, after seeing some absolutely insane growth within my account recently. This week alone, I saw over a 7,000% increase in the amount of accounts reached. And there was an extremely high conversion of new followers coming from that reach as well, which is why I wanted to have a little bit of chat about my content strategy, a couple key things that are integrated into it, and just shine some light on you guys as well, for what you should be doing in order to be creating content that's ultimately going to be converting. Okay. Because what our goal is to be putting content out that is going to be helping us grow our impact and grow our income as business owners. So this is the cash to content or content to cash mini training, and we're going to really talk about what sort of content converts in this. So there's three key pillars we're going to look at. The first is, what is the purpose of a content strategy? Then we're going to look at where is the current gap in the industry at the moment and what is the solution for you. Okay, so I'm super excited to have you here. And I hope you enjoy this training. I hope you find it valuable. Make sure you've got a pen and a paper and you're taking down notes as we go through this, because this is literally content that I teach inside of my Aligned Coaching Academy. This is literally extracts of content that my students pay top dollars for to get access to learn from me. And this is the same strategies, same information and knowledge that I continuously apply in my business that gets me results. So make sure that you take notes and then take massive action from what you're about to learn here. So let's get started. What is the purpose of a content strategy? Okay, your content strategy, it should serve a couple key purposes. First and foremost, it should be serving as a key source of lead generation for you. Now, I do not do any paid advertising in my business. I've grown to multiple six figures in the last 2 years with zero paid advertisement. So all of my growth has been organic, okay, from organic strategies. And that key organic strategy I use is my content strategy, right? It's free. I don't need to pay to put content out there. So it's a totally awesome business plan, especially for someone who's just starting out and doesn't have any capital to really be investing into marketing. So the first key thing that your content strategy should be doing is obviously generating leads for you, okay? You don't just want to be putting content out there and not seeing any inbound leads coming from that. And now that's something I do want to highlight is those two key types of leads that you are going to see coming through your business. That's inbound leads and outbound leads. So inbound leads are those leads that are coming into you. You're not having to go and find them. Whereas outbound leads are the ones that you're going and you're putting yourself in front of. So your content strategy should really be creating a high flow of inbound leads for you. And if it isn't, then there's a gap in the content that you're producing, okay? So lead generation is the first thing that your content strategy should be doing for you. The second thing is it should be nurturing your audience. Now, this is massive. Your content is intended to, one, attract new leads, but two, to also nurture your existing followers, your existing audience, right? And really building that like, no trust factor with them. So when we're talking about the like, no trust factor, if you haven't heard of this before, someone needs to like you before they're going to want to get to know you, and they need to know you before they're going to want to trust you, and they need to trust you before they're going to buy from you, okay? So we really, really want your content to be doing that work for you to move your audience through that like, no trust factor and getting to that point where they do have, there's a relationship, a connection that's really been established, and they do have trust in you, even if you've never had a physical conversation or a sales call with them before whatsoever, okay? So your content should be doing a lot of work around nurturing your audience for you. Now, on that note of nurturing as well, if you have people in your audience that maybe you are pitching products to, or you're getting them on enrollment calls and you're not closing those calls, then again, this is where your content strategy comes into play, right? Because after that call or after that no close, what's then going to happen is they're going to continue to receive exposure to you through your content. And so then that's going to warm them up further so that when you go and you re-offer to them down the track, they're going to be more likely to be ready to buy. On that note as well, the third key thing that your content strategy should be doing is reducing the touch points before a sale, okay? So ultimately, if you are consistently producing content, you have a killer social presence, you're showing up, you've got that presence in the online space and people are watching, they're consuming you, then what that's going to do is reduce down the amount of touch points that it's going to take before someone's ready to buy from you. Now, for a cold lead, it can really honestly take up to 70 touch points sometimes for someone to be ready to buy from you, which means you want your content to be doing a lot of those touch points for you, so that you can be reducing down that curve to actually getting to a sale. Now, if your content strategy is doing its job properly for you, then you should be able to be making sales within just 7 touch points, right? How insane is that? How insane is that? That's like 10x in the opposite direction, which we do want to be seeing. Okay, so that is the purpose of a content strategy. Now, on this note, I want to take a quick look at what's a bad strategy versus what's a good strategy, okay? Because it's really important to see which sort of side of the scale you're falling into at the moment, whether you're falling into that, bad, needs a little bit more work, needs a little bit more cleaning up side of things, or if you are really grounded into the direction of having a good content strategy that is going to compound to really be working for you in time. So let's take a look first and foremost at what is a bad strategy. So here's a couple key points that come to mind when I think of a content strategy that needs a little bit more refinement, okay? So if your content is draining your time and energy, and you see no results from it, then that's a bad strategy, okay? Your content's draining your time and energy, and you're not seeing any results from it. You have little to no consistency with inbound leads flowing into your account, okay? So as we said, we want your content strategy to produce that consistent flow of inbound leads coming to you, right? So if that's not happening, then again, there's a gap in your content strategy. You're attracting people to your page who are out of alignment with your ideal client or trying to prospect you. I hear this so often. I've had people come to me and say, hey, I don't know what's going wrong, but everyone I'm attracting to my page is trying to prospect me. I'm their ideal client. They're not my ideal client, okay? And that right there says that there is a gap in your content strategy and the way that you are producing content. Another point about a bad strategy is engagement and community interactions from your followers is very poor and very low, okay? We really do want to be seeing that higher engagement and interaction from our audience. And if you're not getting that right now, then there is a big gap in your strategy. Also, if you are posting and ghosting without activating your content activation is so damn important. We're not just out here to post something and leave it and move on and then post the next thing. We want to be posting content and then activating that content and making that content actually work for us, okay? So if you're posting and ghosting without activating your content, then you're currently falling into a bad strategy. Next, there is inconsistency in your messaging, and therefore your audience lacks clarity in what you do and how you can serve them. Okay. We really want to be making sure that our messaging is consistent. So that's going to help with the inbound lead generation and also community nurturing. But if you've got that inconsistency in your messaging, then your audience is going to lack clarity around who you are, what you do, and how you can help them. And then it's, not going to be a surprise as to why you're not closing more sales from your current audience. Finally, the last point I want to touch on when it comes to a bad strategy is you're initiating DM conversations and you're struggling to get to the point of pitch, or you're actually struggling to close any sales at all, okay? So again, this is a bit of an indicator that your content strategy does need some refinement as well, because it shouldn't be challenging to actually have that intentional directed conversation and to align that conversation with a point of pitch or with a sale if your content is really doing the groundwork for you. So they're the key points I wanted to touch on when it comes to a bad strategy. Now let's have a look at the opposite side and see what are some key points that make up a good strategy. So your content should be doing the heavy lifting for you, okay? Your content should also be creating a high flow of inbound leads. So when I say your content should be doing the heavy lifting for you, this can be associated with lead generation as well, right? If you've got really good performing content that's creating that consistent and high flow of inbound leads, then you're not really going to be worried about having to absolutely stretch yourself trying to do all of your manual outbound engagements. It should also do the heavy lifting when it comes to actually selling. So it should be solving a lot of your ideal clients' objections, fears, hesitations, all of that before you even get to having the conversation with them about working together. And then that way, by that point that you actually are having that call and you're talking about moving forward with them, they've already worked through a lot of their struggles on their own because of what your content has been delivering. And also that trust has really well been established, which means it's going to do a lot of heavy lifting for you when it comes to actually having a sales conversation because they're already on the warmer and hotter side of the lead scale. So when I said your content should be creating a high flow of inbound leads for you, you don't necessarily need to be going viral in order to have this happening. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands or millions of views on your content in order to have a high flow of inbound leads. You just need to be creating really aligned and crystal clear content that is speaking directly to your ideal client. You can have a reel that only has 300 views on it and you can still get 10 or more new followers from that reel if your messaging is super clear, okay? So we want to make sure that our content is producing that high flow of inbound leads. And if it is, then amazing, you're on track with a good strategy so far. Now, another aspect of a good strategy is you should notice a high conversion of leads from outbound engagements. Now, when I'm talking about outbound engagements, I'm talking about you and physically going and putting yourself in front of other audiences, whether this be through manual engagements on other accounts, whether this be through going and doing a masterclass for someone else's community, right? You should notice a high conversion of outbound leads coming from that if your profile is really optimized and your content is really hitting the nail on the head, okay? Again, your community should be interacting with what you're creating. So as we were talking about before, a bad strategy has low community engagement and interactions. A really good strategy has high community engagement and interactions. People are engaging with what you're putting out there. You're having conversations, they're engaging with you, they're connecting with you, they're resonating with you. That's what we want to be seeing in a good content strategy. And on that note, your content is activated after posting and conversations are getting started. So we spoke about, we don't want to just be posting and ghosting. We want to be activating our content, which means that when we are posting, we want to see interactions following. We want to get conversations started. We want our content to be activated, not dead, okay? So another aspect of a good social media strategy, content strategy as well, is there should be a clear brand identity and really congruent messaging that is received by your followers, okay? Branding and brand identity is so damn important. We will touch on the messaging aspect a little bit later in today's training as well. But yeah, you really want to be making sure that you've got a clear brand identity that is aligned and authentic to you, and that the messaging in your content is really congruent with that brand identity. Finally, the last point I want to touch on when it does come to a good social media strategy is you should be having flow within the DMs and getting calls booked and also closing with ease, okay? It should be really easy to get in flow with a conversation if your content is doing good work for you. And it should also be a little bit easier to actually close a sale because your content has already established that like, no trust factor. There's authority established. People understand and recognize that you're an expert at what you do. So that has shortened the curve to actually making a sale. So with that said, that's a little bit of an overview on the difference between a good and a bad content strategy. I'd really encourage you to take a moment to sort of like check off which ones of these boxes you're ticking at the moment and making sure that you're clear on where the gaps are currently and where you're falling into a bad strategy versus where you're falling into a good strategy. Now, what I want to transition and have a quick little chat about is the gap that I currently see within the coaching industry. And here is what I see the current problem is. You know, obviously social media is rapidly growing. There's more and more coaches popping up in this online world. I've been in this online space for 2 years myself now. So I have seen a lot of people moving in and out of this space in this time. And here's what I see that the current problems are within the industry. Now, the first is too many people are spending hours fixating on aesthetics, and this is holding them back, right? Value delivery is far more important than aesthetic appeal. So if you're spending so much time being fixated on the aesthetics of the content you're producing and the way that your feed looks and making every single thing picture perfect, then you're actually holding yourself back from doing the important work, activating your content, starting conversations, and simply just getting the content out there as well and getting it in front of more people. Another problem that I see currently within the industry is too many people copying up coaches, right? Too many people watching 6 and 7 figure business owners, seeing what they're posting, seeing their language and copying, okay? Copying other coaches' content and messaging, it just waters down your own brand identity. I get it. You probably see something and go, wow, that really clicked for me. I want to put that out there as well because, you know, that landed for me. So I know it's going to land for my audience as well. But by simply copying what other coaches are doing, you're actually watering down your own authenticity, your own messaging, your own voice, your own brand identity. And that is going to be holding you back from actually making sales and building a strong community, okay, that you can have an impact on. The next part, the next point that I see is another gap within the industry at the moment is too many people, you know, working on consistency, but lacking the strategy. Obviously, consistency is so damn important when it comes to building a successful business or succeeding at anything for that matter. But consistency without strategy, it's not going to grow your business, okay? Because if you're just posting every single day for the sake of posting and the content that you're putting out there lacks intention and lacks strategy, you're still not going to see the results. So you really do need to be pairing consistency with strategy, okay? If you don't have the strategy at the moment, find someone that does and learn from them. And on that note as well, I think another big gap I do see in the industry at the moment is too many coaches assuming that they can simply just copy what they see online. And say, for example, you see me post something and you duplicate it for yourself without actually understanding the full strategy behind what's being done there. And that as well is going to create problems, you know, for you to be able to actually see growth and results. The final gap that I want to touch on that I see as, you know, one of the current problems in the industry also is leading too strongly with pain and fear-driven content. Now, so many people say, speak to people's pain, speak to people's fears, rah, 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 rah. But what you don't realize is if you're leading too strongly with this, you're actually scaring away your prospects, right? You're scaring them away because you're installing too much fear inside of them and you're not empowering them to take action. And maybe they are taking some action, but they're taking action from a place of fear. And we don't want clients to be taking action from a place of fear. We want them to be taking action from a place of empowerment. Okay. And this is why it's so important that, yeah, you can speak to pains and fears through your content, but doing it in an empowering way. Right. And I think I see this far too often at the moment, leading far too strongly with pain and fear and forgetting about that empowerment aspect that needs to be incorporated into that as well. So I hope all of this is landing for you so far. That's all I wanted to share when it does come to the current gap that I see in the coaching industry at the moment when it comes to content creation and building your business, making money through these sorts of organic marketing methods. So what I want to share with you now is 2 solutions that are going to help you moving forward from here. So what is the first solution? Clarity of messaging, okay? I want you to think of your social media as your storefront. Now, therefore, what this means is everyone who's going to come across your page is looking through the windows of your store and they're having a little bit of a sneaky peek to see if they like what they see. Now, what our goal is to have them come inside and ultimately stay. And when I say stay, I mean we want them to follow you, okay? So you really do have a matter of seconds to make an impression on these window shoppers, let's call them. And therefore, what's important is that the clarity of your content messaging is there, right? Because if it's not there, you've only got a matter of seconds. They're going to click on your account. They're going to lack clarity in how you can, who you are, what you do, how you can serve them, why they should follow you. And as a result, they're not going to follow you. Okay. So we want to make sure that our storefront is set up with crystal clear messaging. So when our ideal client walks past, they're 100% going to come inside. Okay. Now, on that note, your content messaging should provide clarity on a few key areas. So first and foremost, who you are and what your mission and values are. Okay. We also want to provide clarity on what you are an expert at. So we want to really show your authority and how you can help people. The opportunity of transformation for your ideal client, right? Showing them like where they can ultimately be if they are either working with you or following you. And also how you can help your ideal client actually achieve this transformation that you mentioned, okay? So there are 4 key things that you really, really need to be providing clarity on through your messaging and through your content. Now, while we're still on this topic of clarity in messaging, she's not scrolling properly. I want to touch on 2 more key points. The first, your messaging should be clear enough that it speaks to the different prospect awareness phases of your audience and the different triggers that drive someone to buy. Now, we're going to touch a little bit deeper onto that in a minute, looking at prospect awareness phases, but it's really, really important that you are providing a diversity of content that is speaking to a diversity of people, okay? Because not everyone is in the same place. There are many, many different places that your prospects are at in their awareness, and also many, many different things that drive your audience to actually buy. And so it's important that we are really creating a diversity of what these points are that we're speaking to. And finally, when sharing your message through your content marketing, it is of highest importance to maintain authenticity and integrity, okay? You really want to be sharing your beliefs, values, opinions, and your true self. And this is what is going to attract the audience that is ultimately aligned for you, okay? Authenticity is key, okay? Stop trying to be someone you're not. Stop trying to be that 6 or 7 figure business owner that you follow, and start showing up as your authentic self, okay? That is what's going to attract your aligned audience. So that's the final point that I wanted to touch on in that first solution of clarity of messaging. Now, the next thing I want to touch on is actually understanding your audience. So there are 3 key types of leads that will be in your audience. And you probably already know this already, because this is pretty basic stuff, right? You've got cold leads, warm leads, and hot leads. Now, your cold leads, these are the furthest from buying. These are the ones that they don't really know you, they don't really like you, and they certainly don't trust you yet. Your warm leads, these are the people that like you, right? They like you, but they're still getting to know you and they're still getting to trust you. And your hot leads, these are the people who like, know, and trust you, which means they are ready to buy from you, okay? So that's the first thing you need to understand when it comes to knowing your audience is, what are those 3 types of people that are in your audience? Where are they all at? And how can you be moving people up the scale? Now, you need to really have a deep understanding of each prospect awareness phase in order to actually understand how to communicate to each through your content. And so what I'm going to do shortly is actually run you through the 5 key prospect awareness phases so you have this understanding. But really what the goal is to speak to each phase through your content, okay? And we want to do this through different ways of integration into our content. And what this is going to do is this is going to move your audience to becoming the most aware, the hottest leads, right? The hottest prospect awareness phase they could possibly be at that point where they are ready to buy, okay? So let's take a look. This is the 5 prospect awareness phases as broken down by Eugene Short, okay? So let's start from the top and we'll move all the way to, actually, let's start from the bottom and we'll move all the way to the top. So we'll start down here, okay? First and foremost, we have the completely unaware. So these people have no knowledge of anything, right? These are your coldest leads. They have no awareness of anything whatsoever, which means they are the least likely to buy from you. They don't know that you can help them. They don't even know that they need help. They don't know they have a problem. They don't necessarily know that they have a goal, right? So that's the coldest prospect awareness phase of the 5. Then we have the problem aware. Okay, so we're moving closer to the warm scale here. Now, the problem aware, they sense that there's a problem, but they don't know that there's a solution for it. Okay, so as you can see, they're lacking awareness of self, they're lacking awareness of you. They can sense, they can feel that there's a problem, but they're not too sure on what it is, and they also don't know that there's a solution for them. So these 2 are your coldest. Then we move up to this middle run, and this one is your warmer leads. Okay, so these are the solution aware people. Now, they know what they want, but they don't know you offer it. So you can see that they've got the awareness around what their problem is, or what their goal is, or what they need, but they just don't know that you have the solution to help them get there. Okay, then we have our product aware audience members. Now, they know what you sell, but they're not sure if it's right for them. So that's ultimately like, they're warm, they're like on the fence, they're like looking, they're curious, they're interested, but they're not crossing the line to buying because they don't have the clarity as to whether or not what you offer is actually what they want and need. And then finally, at the very top, we have this would be your hottest leads in your audience. They are going to be the most aware prospects out of all the prospect awareness phases. And they know who you are and what it is that you offer. And they know that you can help them. So this person up here has the ultimate level of awareness. This is the people who ultimately end up buying off you. Okay. Now, what our goal is through our content to actually move our audience members from being completely unaware all the way up to being the most aware. And now, if you can be doing this, then you are creating content that will be converting. But there's a lot of strategy that does go into that in itself, right? Which you can check out the social selling series if you want to break that down even further, or join us inside of the Align Coaching Academy. But basically what you want to understand is start to identify, what members of your audience are at what phase of the prospect awareness the prospect awareness scale, and start understanding how you can be speaking to each of these phases inside of your content and providing a diversity of content that's and messaging that's ultimately going to be moving everyone to this point of being the most aware. So with that said, that is a brief little breakdown for you of the 5 prospect awareness phases. Now, that wraps up the second solution that I wanted to provide you guys with in this training. So with that said, let's move forward and take a look at the next steps of what you're going to do from here. Okay, so your next steps. Now you have a basic understanding of what makes a good versus a bad content strategy. And you should also have a clear understanding of knowing 2 key steps that you can be taking from here to start refining your current content and actually creating content that's going to be converting at a much higher level. These are all aspects of my content ecosystem, my sales ecosystem, which works for me month after month after month to attract new leads in and sign new clients into my high ticket programs. So what your next step is from here. If you're ready to take the next step with mastering your content strategy, then I want you to DM me on Instagram, okay? My Instagram is @empowerwithem. If you're not already following me over there, or you just forgot what my Instagram name was, but what I want you to do is DM me on Instagram and DM me the word, let's say, what word's going to be fun? Let's say content. No, let's say convert, okay? I want you to DM me on Instagram and DM me the word convert, okay? If you DM me the word convert on Instagram, then I know that you want me to give you the framework to actually booking 5 sales calls per week through your content strategy so that you can start growing your impact and your income. Okay, so this little training here alone is the very first step that I've given you. Now, I want you to send me that message over on Instagram. Send me the word convert if you want me to send you the next steps, which is going to teach you how to book 5 sales calls per week through your content strategy. This is what I do for myself. This is what I teach my clients as well. So if you're ready to take that next step to really mastering this whole concept of content that converts and turning your content into cash, into real clients, and growing your impact and income online, then I'll be waiting and I'll be expecting to hear from you over on Instagram. But with that said, I hope that you really did enjoy this training. I hope that you took a lot away from it. I really did just want to create this for you to be able to give you more insights into what it is I do that works for me, that works for my clients, that gets results time and time again. As I said, I've built a multiple six-figure coaching business in the past 2 years with zero business experience prior to this, right? And that has completely come down to organic marketing strategies, specifically being my organic content strategy, okay? So send me that message, send me a DM saying convert on Instagram, and I'll tell you more about your next steps from here. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this training. I hope that you found it valuable. And I am very, very, very much looking forward to connecting with you further and supporting you with your next steps of refining your content strategy. Have fun. Take care, guys. I hope you found value in this, and I appreciate you for taking the time to sit in and listen to this training. Bye-bye.